and welcome back to the show. We're here for another round of organized bullshit. And joining us as always is Rob from Real Sharks and partner in crime, Oreo Brewer.
Tally ho, motherfucker.
And welcoming to the show is Heather from the Villainess Narrative on Instagram. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
So we were just all talking about, we had talked about numerous movies and shows. Eventually we're going to revisit them. In some cases we've talked about our favorite villains because every villain makes a better story. And sometimes they anchor the outline of a otherwise lacking story. And we might as well, we figured, hey, if we're going to talk about all these other various genre, sometimes multi-genre things, whether it's Phantasm or Star Trek or Candyman and Wishmaster, we're going to talk about the best moments, whether that's a giant space battle, whether it's exploding gore, whether it's just an iconic moment that just haunted you. It gave you nightmare fuel. It made you say, man, cinema's changing. And it just so happened tonight we're talking about the Clive Barker adaptation that's, it's been well used by others. It hasn't been well used by others. It's been an unintentional comedy in some cases. It's been hated and then reevaluated. It's a ever-changing saga.
It's the brave little toaster.
Is that the parallel?
Yeah, there you
go. the brave.
I love it.
The land before whatever time. I always let the newcomers go first. So Heather, when did you decide, okay, this is an unusual kind of religious horror, met up with a morality tale? What is it about this saga that's kind of interesting, kind of a hate watch, kind of a fun afternoon movie? What is it about?
I think the whole idea on how it's just like pain is pleasure kind of thing. It can be it's kind of cool.
We swear it's not a Daniel Stillwell. No, it's kidding.
I love the gore. The gore in it is really good, and like the practical effects. Really, it's really a guilty pleasure for me. Even all the way through the series, I know a lot of people are not really popular or like into
the fan base. Or and I go back and forth on the fan bases, and Rob and I I've had a few conversations on his show on the degrees of controversy. Just like we try to shift through the bullshits and the politics. Ori and I will often talk about the fandom, and Hellraiser fans, man, I'm gonna argue. You can feel free to disagree. Are they as rude as the various Halloween and Star Wars geeks? Or are they pretty cool with occasional douchery?
I mean, I feel like we have to be open to it, I feel like any saga really has to be open to it. There's going to be so many installments.
I get that there's going to be kinds of fans and differences, and like some people are like, it's all to hell after part 3. And then there were other, no pun, and then there were others who was like, I would personally say, there are a few worth watching, once it went direct to video, but everyone varies. I personally don't even think the first one is the best of the franchise. I'm closer to the part 2, just because that showed me hell. That showed me.
Yeah, honestly, I think I just watched the second one today, and the second one, I think it beats the first one. Honestly, I agree with you.
No, it's all good. So Rob, how did you get into this crazy saga? What was it? So bad it's good territory like Jason or Leprechaun, or was it more professional and mature?
So when it comes to Hellraiser, first of all, it's a franchise and a genre of horror films I really actually respect quite a bit. This one usually goes high up in my recommendation for people. I really do enjoy these movies. For me, it comes down to how like the gore is really, really par none to a lot of different horrors that I've seen, especially back in the day. It's interesting how it is told from a kind of a villainous perspective almost too, because it's almost like a Clockwork Orange story. And I hate to use that as a example because you're basically telling a a story from a bad person's perspective, and because these guys, as they say in the film, they're angels to some, demons to many, and especially in the first movie too. It's literally about enacting revenge, but it's like that choice, almost like Berserk. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Berserk. How the ending of Berserk, how not the Netflix films, but
Nope.
the actual show itself, like
Yeah.
how that choice
Yeah.
to like sacrifice everybody, kind of thing like that.
Okay,
I
nope.
enjoy that.
It was based on a '88 manga, I believe.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Okay,
I
I
like
think
that
I've seen it
idea of the
promoted,
story.
but no, that's a good contrast because it is kind of, in a way, like you say, it's a crazy morality tale, and then you're seeing these degrees of hell and
Mind
Dark as
fuck.
fuck.
right,
Fuck.
and like Heather said, it is kind of it's just showing these degree of uh, sinners in a sinner's game using pain or pleasure, and then it's. I mean, in a way, you probably wouldn't even have Neil Gaiman's, Sandman or even Spawn, just
No,
any
definitely Spawn. Yeah,
of
that's
these
that's a
other,
good one.
because it's weird. It's like it's a mutant version of the Exorcist or Omen, except it's even more, even kind of like X Files, where it's like there's characters who are skeptics and then there's characters who are believers, and it doesn't. One thing I will applaud it is it never bashes the audience over the head with "you must agree with my perspective."
Yeah,
It's so
absolutely.
rare because
Yeah.
most of the time other movies will hit their agenda to where you can only appreciate them in a trashy or unintended way because they are so biased. But no, it's just like, no, you're about much like Tales from the Crypt, minus the
Mhm.
humor. You're gonna see Pinhead fuck some shit up.
Right.
Mhm.
Now, Oreo, do you feel like this became like it's often criticized as being the next Freddy Krueger, or did you actually take it away as a cool kind of comic book worthy world, which it did become a comic? It actually crossed
Yeah,
over with
like I
Nightbreed,
actually,
which blew my mind. I never knew it
yeah,
all
I
these years.
own that shit. I love that crossover with Hellraiser and Nightbreed.
We'll talk about
But yeah, I love that shit. I didn't really compare it to anything. I just took it for what it was, and it was a great fucking horror franchise.
Yeah, I'm glad I waited at the right time. Like El Rey before it closed down would show reruns of these movies, and I think the best part, like you guys mentioned before, some of it does get infamous notoriety, like freaking leprechaun in space Jason X, but then some of it is also, like you say, pretty mature and well rounded. I mean, part 5 is practically a 7 movie, and then near the end it reveals, oh, by the way, this guy you've been chasing, it's been Pinhead luring you out so he can kill you for all the sins you've unleashed. And it takes you a while to actually put together, wait a minute, is that prostitute underage? Oh my god, did he just dose that junkie up? Oh my god, this crooked cop, he's a bastard. A cop.
Oh, Craig Sheffer, that's right. Yeah,
Right, from Nightbreed.
yeah.
So in my mind, I almost like to think it's the same person from Nightbreed crossing over.
I love his death scene in Nightbreed, though. That shit's funny as hell. He's just laying there like,
Yeah, and
I'm like, damn.
now Nightbreed is interesting, and not to go too much into that. We'll try and do a separate chat on that and
Yes.
the Hellraiser mythos, but it's
Do you
kind of
got the
interesting.
Cabal cut?
Hmm?
Do you have the Cabal cut of that?
I think I've seen it on Tubi, but yeah, it's interesting in that, it's an unrecognizable villain performance from genre filmmaker David Cronenberg. I'd reckon he's probably one of the best villains of all time in that one. But Clyde Barker is kind of interesting. I've seen some people kind of note how he's kind of almost like, if you want to say Stephen King, but not as over the top, because he just basically is going to hate every adaptation that's ever done of his work. I'll be kind to
That's
him.
a good comparison, though.
Yeah, but the difference between
King's-
King is I don't feel
He's traditional.
he's traditional, and
Yeah.
I mean, hence why he wrote some plays and he got his theater buddy, Doug Bradley, to play, the title Cenobite role. But it's interesting, I find, because I don't think he's too much like Alan Moore, where he's going to refuse to watch an adaptation. I think he's just over passionate,
Oh, that's funny. I remember that shit with Watchmen. That was
But
so
yeah,
funny.
there's just something about the chains, and especially in part 3 when he goes all Terminator, he's fucking up all the cops and
Yeah,
his own
oh, that
army.
was funny. I did a review on that shit.
Oh, totally. But yeah, part 2 was wild too because he's literally having to be fighting his alter ego
Mm-hmm.
and just how he was, yeah, Vietnam soldier, was it? If I'm
Yeah.
mistaken? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Caught in some weird time loop, and
I
it's
found
all
that
together.
funny though, because what's her name's in that, and that was literally the same year Deep Space Nine came out.
Oh yeah,
Dax.
yeah. Dax from Deep Space Nine. Terry Farrell is in part 3.
I'm like, really?
as the
Terry's
reporter.
in this shit? I forgot about that.
I mean, even Andrew Robinson. So there you go, Garrick. But yeah, you can find just about a bunch of other genre makeup
Tie-ins.
people who were involved with this. Freaking Gary J. Tunicliffe, I know, cussed me out one time on social media. I don't have a photo of that anymore. He's like, I did not intend to make this saga torture porn. I was like, I didn't say it was. I just said it felt like a Saw movie.
Where do you think Hellraiser sits for you, Cam, on the gore meter? Do you find it to be like a gory, like a traditional gore film, or just like a straight horror film, or a mix of both? Because I've actually come across people who find this movie to be like, because when I've talked to people, like I know people that like Saw, for example, they like that kind of gore, but then like they'll watch Hellraiser and they've straight up told me, "Oh, it sucks." I'm like, "What? How do you get that?"
It's
So
very
slow.
weird because I know I take an inspiration because I knew a guy named Travis who was obsessed with gore. Like that was even his name. Whenever he did a multiplayer game, he would always be called Gore. And,
Gore.
yeah, and he played violent shit like Halo or Mortal Kombat, and then when we came over, would turn the gore off.
Halo
But,
ain't no fucking.
yeah, no,
Jesus
it's interesting.
Christ.
I think most people who like Saw do like Hellraiser, but then there are others who they want, if it's not mindless. I mean,
Right.
hence the torture porn name, and then they're just like, man, I had to think, I don't like this. Like,
Well, Saw's more intricate though in terms of horror because it's different. It's in its own class basically because it goes from
I'm talking more about the
twist.
idea of like the gore aspect of it, like because I've had people that literally come at me and they're like, I want to watch something gore. I want some gore. I'm like, well, watch Hellraiser. Oh, because they'll say I like Saw, so I want to watch some gore. But they watch Hellraiser. Oh, I think that movie sucked. I'm like,
to
where
answer
do
Don't
you get
watch
that?
your fucking life then. That's gory.
Right?
But
I love Saw, and I feel like Hellraiser and Saw just have like perfect gore in them.
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, to answer Rob's thing, I think it could appeal to both audiences. It's got plenty for the extreme as well as plenty for the
Because I
reserve.
find newer generation, younger audiences usually find Hellraiser to be campy.
I mean,
funny.
there are definitely some campy entries. There are definitely some lesser entries, but I think, like you say, I mean, and I'll actually use this as another bridge, but it may be imperfect, but it's at least opening up a dialogue. And much like Tales from the Crypt, you're having fun with the characters' comeuppances because, much like a Romero zombie film, you are, or just Romero in general, you're open to all these ideas that it's coated with, as well as, like you say, it's priming you for these inevitable kills, murders, and even just the human characters betraying each other. And it's even funnier how most of the movies just can't even be shown on regular TV or cable.
Yeah.
AMC would show like the first two very, very late at night, and then
I've seen it censored. And it's not even worth watching, man. There's so
really
much stuff
not.
that's taken out of it.
It's like Pulp Fiction, where you're just like,
Yeah.
what the hell is going on? You've cut out so much of the movie. And
Tales from the Hood.
Freeze
maggot farmer. I'm like, what the fuck's a maggot farmer?
Die Hard, and
motherfucker.
even Menace to Society. Yeah, don't even bother watching on TV. You'll get too many abrupt edits. They'll fast forward for the music to where it sounds like shit. Like they kind of do what AMC would do with the openings of James Bond or Law and Order, where it just sounds like an acid trip, remix, and you're just like, stop. That gave me a headache, and I'm just trying to get into the movie mode. But yes, like like Heather mentioned and Rob mentioned, and even Oreo brought up, you guys have all outlined that there's just something about these Cenobites that are very just intriguing. I mean, there's a reason they were even used kind of for the Borg Collective on Star Trek, and even just for other similar kind of characters. They would always come in different forms. Some of them would be seductive, some of them would be very taunting.
Yeah, I think there's like 30 different variants in the last video I saw on YouTube.
TV tropes brought up this interesting question that I'd actually like to hear you bring up. And it's very similar. It's already based technically from a short story that Barker loosely worked on.
Hellbound Heart.
Similar. The TV tropes alludes that perhaps the Candyman might actually be a Cenobite. What do you guys think of that theory?
That's interesting.
Because the same kind of deal, a guy who's been wronged by slave owners years ago and goes out for vengeance, killing people who, again, have lust.
Could that mean Freddy Krueger could be one?
Yeah.
Definitely. Maybe the Wishmaster, even though it's an Egyptian, genie.
Jason, when he goes to hell?
Right. Which, again, brings Ash into this argument since we're using
Wait. Puppet Master?
Oh, there you go. The Puppet Master. I guarantee you Charles Band wishes he had done. And so it's so funny how earlier horror like movie history books would even say, Roger Corman produced this. I'm like, Roger Corman didn't do shit. New World produced it. He had left the company by then. I'm sure he wanted the money. It's just so funny. Yeah, but no, it's interesting how kind of like there was the movie Seven, and then there was all these other kind of psychos who, Dexter types. There's even a real life Dexter killer who basically took Dexter out of context and killed people. But yeah, it's interesting how there's always someone who's like there you go. I'm waiting for there to be a Saw copycat killer, but yeah, it does seem like they're maybe a Jack Bauer copycat killer, and he's not even a but yeah, it's interesting how we get all these guys who they're not vigilantes exactly, and they're not trying to play God, but they're kind of taking
anti-heroes at all.
Yeah, but they're not anti-heroes either.
They're just like, we're here to fuck shit up, literally.
They are.
That's kind of what they are.
Yeah,
and
they're still.
What I like about it too is like I was saying, it's kind of a choice between the family too on whether they want to do this, and that's what kind of makes it great because you're not deciding on what there is no good or bad. You're just like you go with it. There is no like this is a good person, this is a bad person. It's like no, this is the decisions they make. You make that choice on how you feel about it. That's what I think is really ultimately good about the film itself, besides being like an acid trip of horror.
But yeah, no, that is true. They leave it up to you. Is like, hey, you're a bright guy. You'll figure it out. And it is kind of like you say, kind of amusing because we're looking at them from afar, and we don't know what they have to reveal until it's too late. And yeah, the family predicament does forever plague the rest of the saga because they're just one of many victims later to come. And Scott Derrickson, who helmed part 5, he didn't. This is much like all these other franchises. It is funny how people who worked on the sequels don't want anything to do with the other sequels, but their own sequel.
Doesn't make sense.
I wonder if they're all
so
connected.
close to it. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I wonder if they're all connected. Like we were mentioning about Candyman and Puppet Master and all that shit. I wonder if those if everybody who worked on the films, if there's a connection between people who worked on each film, if they're all connected that way.
Other than the Gary guy who also designed Wolverine's claws, I couldn't find any connections.
Oh wow.
Which is so wild because Bernard Rose, when he helmed Candyman, he pretty much is going for a similar kind of predicament. Be careful what you wish for. Peter Atkins, who wrote parts 2 through 4, wrote Wishmaster, coming up with the same deal except going for again camp. And I guarantee you, Lionsgate probably has wanted to adapt it a few different times. Dimension. So you will love this though, Oreo and Rob. You might actually have your mind blown. we did a special on here previously, and probably one of our favorites. Me and Court from Cinema Psyops, he was talking about, I was hearing his dissect, no pun, of the Texas Chainsaw Saga, and he would always talk about people who would make a movie and sometimes it looked like a fan film. And I was like, you know what? You talk about fan films just so much. We've just done Star Trek fan films. Why don't we rank all these Hellraiser fan films? And there were some really good ones, and there were some boring ones. And then there were ones that had great ideas, even though they had, amateur production values and non-actors in acting parts. But there were a few that crossed over with the Prophecy saga. Oh, wow. Also by Dimension Films. And I was
Christopher Walken's Prophecy?
Yes. Yeah. The Archangel Gabriel. And I was like,
interesting.
Those are the kind of fan films I wanted to make for the longest time. Crossovers. There's nothing better than a properly done crossover where you can actually justify these guys other than just, we're just trying to cash in on Alien versus Predator, Freddy versus Jason Bunny. It's like
it all ties back to the Rubik's Cube.
The Rubik's Cube.
That's the real fucking enemy. That's the real enemy, not Pinhead. Pinhead's just a figurehead.
Right.
I wonder how sales did after Hellraiser came out for the Rubik's Cube back in the 80s. I really do wonder.
Let's sure see.
It was. I will check that for you.
Awesome.
Just keep going. I'll look.
Yeah. So while Rob is doing unofficial research, I guarantee you. Well, because like you say, Hellraiser was getting big just as, drive-in theaters were shutting down, and I guarantee you, it probably was, for every one, 3 and 8, Hasbro or Walmart employees. I guarantee you that I'm gonna actually probably guess there's probably 40% of people who joke that a Rubik's Cube looks like Pinhead's box.
Like, what? I'm solving a Rubik's Cube? Holy shit.
So I want it to be solved.
Leaves one sticker off the cube. You asshole!
Right. And one finger. I wonder if someone's ever designed it with actual spikes.
Dude.
If there's no serial killer death trap that's been...
I like
that's
that.
That's a terrible idea. Why would
one.
We'll return after these messages.
Hello and welcome to Culture Shocked, the pop culture podcast brought to you by 4 aging millennials and our outdated opinions. Join us every Tuesday as we discuss movies, TV, games, and even music, new and old.
Dude, what do you think you're doing?
Are you seriously trying to record a promo without us right now?
Well, yeah.
Dude, you can't just do the promo by yourself. Who's gonna listen to that?
Yeah, and you probably haven't even told them that we're a pop culture podcast where we always agree on everything. For instance, the Sam Raimi trilogy, easily being the best of the Spider-Man movies.
No. But I think we can all agree that Jaws is a classical masterpiece.
Nope, don't like that. But we do all agree that the sequel trilogy of Star Wars is the best in the Skywalker saga, right, guys?
That comment is so ridiculous. I don't even know where to
Anyways, that'll do it from all of us here at Culture Shock. Thanks for listening.
Do you ever find yourself thinking about who would win in a fight between Goku and Superman? Hi, I'm James Gavsey, and on the Who Would Win show, me and my co-host Ray ignore anything important happening in the outside world and debate fictional battles between characters from comics, movies, and video games.
We got a new show every week, and almost always am I the winner.
Yeah, not true, Ray.
In the past, we've discussed such matches as Captain America versus Darth Vader, Solid Snake versus the Iron Giant, classic matchups like RoboCop versus Terminator, and even the Muppets versus Sesame Street.
That one was crazy. So if you're a fan of geek culture and love a spirited debate, check out the Who Would Win show wherever you get your podcasts, or check us out at whowouldwinshow.com.
We let things pile up in the DVR, we add them to our queues, we wait for the DVDs and Blu-rays. We time shift. The Time Shifters Podcast. Sci-fi, horror, fantasy, superheroes, comedy, action, film, television, maybe some not-so-current events. Find us on iTunes or at timeshifterspodcast.com.
Cool thing about Blind Knowledge is we are in multiple countries. We are worldwide all across the globe. We are in the US. We are in the UK. We are in Canada, Germany, India, Japan. We're in Australia, y'all. BlindKnowledge.com. Now back to the feature presentation.
That was really innovative, though. I like that.
Yeah, the new one, it's actually been very aggravating. Like, first you had the transphobic people who were like, oh my god, it's a woman playing Pinhead. I'm like,
oh Jesus,
Pinhead never had any gender affiliation.
It's I actually watched a video on that, and they said that this one was closer to the book.
Yeah, well, Jamie Clayton's just such a good actress, and it was just already a double insult, since she's already had a tough time doing a gender shift, and it's just like, you don't no gatekeeping, guys. I mean, Hellraiser is in hell. So
what's it fucking matter?
It doesn't matter at all. No.
Like, oh no, trans people are in hell. Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, just amazing what just Nimrods.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't find anything about it. Although recently, Rubik's Cube just announced its highest sales though now.
Ooh.
But in the '80s, it was still it was just always popular in the '80s though.
Yeah.
So
I bet
that would be interesting though.
I would imagine it probably went up when War Games came out. Because War Games,
especially the ones where you can control your own destiny and modification. It was probably in at least one Dungeons or Dragons game.
That's 100% true. Things always go up after a movie comes out. I mean, look at the Python, the Python gun from Walking Dead. Dude, that shit is like through the roof now if you want to buy one because of that damn film.
The gun, I know the gun company. And I hate to go on a tangent about that, since fuck guns.
You know what I'm saying though, Cam. They do that.
Well, it's all tied.
They do, but the company that produced the model that Charles Bronson I know uses in Death Wish 3 gets some residuals each time it airs.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And so it is fun when certain movies market a certain prop, or it becomes bigger than it actually was, or you even have to do some research. Yes, T2 is crazy. That was kind of where I first realized, wow, regardless of the rating, they're still going to make toys based on the movies and market them to kids, even though they can't watch the movie.
Right, because there were Hellraiser toys. I do remember that.
Yeah, the Tortured Souls.
I was very aware of him for that. In fact, I was in an Angel Buffy chat, and I was like, that's where it actually made me realize that was a big thing, because other than certain select message groups, we were still in, everyone send a letter, as opposed to someone, reminds everyone, wow, everyone does love this object of pop culture history.
It's crazy how popular it shit is.
And good luck finding anyone who can, like Rob say, actually do actual research, or
actually I can do research easily, because no, it's funny. I live 1 hour away from the Smithsonian Museum of History in Washington, D.C. And down there they have Archie Bunker's recliner. They have the police board from Homicide, Life on the Street.
Really?
Yes, they have a bunch of shit down there. I forget what all is there, but those two items are down there. I was like, oh, and I haven't seen them yet.
I used to go to the studio at Las Colinas here, past Dallas, and that was just electrifying. Wow, this is the president's pillar from Air Force One. This is the, green screen. There's all these props from these different, 80s and 90s blockbusters. Here's this, knife used by this killer in this one blockbuster movie. And
I still want Predator's knife. Well, Billy's knife
would be cool. Even going to the Wax Museum was so scary, because there would always be, there was one where I always thought Mulder and Scully would have been perfect in a Hellraiser sequel.
Oh God, that would be awesome.
Or have him guest star, just terrorize him on an elevator. But
so did you guys like Revelations?
Revelations.
The concept. That's the one where it was made for like $10.
Yeah, I'm sorry, because he just looks like a pumpkin with nails in it. I do not mean to be mean, but he really does, dude. I mean,
yeah, it looks bad. That one.
It looked bad.
And I like the second part of Judgment. It's just the first part you had to get through where nothing is happening.
I just reviewed Judgment the other night. I was doing rapid fire reviews because I had a bunch of shit I'm trying to get on the channel. But yeah, Judgment, I had to say, if you get past the first 19 minutes, it's okay. Revelations. I remember that. I remember it because it was the kid went to Mexico.
It's like Dimension didn't want to give up the contract, and they just
Yeah, it was weird, but I'd say it's like a 5, I guess.
Yeah,
maybe a
fair.
4. I don't know. Each Hellraiser, every entry is different.
Right.
And as you get, like, when you go back and rewatch them after so many years, or you go through a new Genesis, you are opened up to more stuff that you missed the next time around. And it's like, damn, this was really fucking good. And then you get to another installment, like, this was total dog shit. And then you're like, oh, but that was just before they hit their big hit and they became legendary.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I actually am surprised I have not encountered any wax museum recreation, and just even creating the whole costume of it is just insane.
That'd be awesome.
You know, it was an awesome callback. Just kind of getting off topic. Does anybody remember in Bride of Chucky when they do that whole nail thing, and it goes into that guy's face, and he's all laying there, and he looks just like Pinhead? They're like, why does that look so familiar?
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of what the fun of it was. It's just like seeing people kind of just nod their head. It's just like, I'm either going to be compared to Freddy, Jason, and then every once in a while just throw out a reference to Pinhead. And
but I think Hellraiser's. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. If Doug Bradley's in anything, then it's automatically connected to Pinhead.
Oh, 1,000%. If you watch Wrong Turn, what is it, 5 or 7?
Oh God,
he just hands it up. Yeah, it got that far. I can't believe it either. But
like the first one, absolutely beautiful, unrated. I didn't watch the sequel.
Yeah, I haven't either.
So part 2 has Henry Rollins. Part 3 and 4, I don't remember, but they were kind of funny.
He's criminally underrated in any fucking film. I love his work.
Is. Well, I don't know why he wasn't in a Hellraiser movie. Anyway, but
I know.
Yeah, I mean, is it? What do you think it is about Pinhead? Is it him coming up with the Lamet configuration? Is it him taking out one of his pins just so dutifully?
It's awesome because, for people that don't even watch Hellraiser, they know who Pinhead is, that's kind of a testament to the film itself.
Shelf. Yeah.
Right, which is how pop culture is like embedded that in our head. But I think Hellraiser 2 as a film, though, when you look at the Jason films, you look at Nightmare on Elm Street, you look at Pumpkinhead, you look at all those, it really does stand on its own because it's not, it may be about that concept of hell, but I just think the overall atmosphere of it, the goreness of it, everything about it, I mean, like I was saying before, it's like an acid trip of horror. And even though Freddy, you can say it's kind of similar like that on the horror, Freddy's still kind of a parody. It's still kind of funny. He's still there's humor to it. Hellraiser, Hellraiser's like, holy shit. Like, this is some guy's nightmare.
This dude's real because no one is going to believe you or save you. He can, at times, he doesn't really do what the others do, where they shapeshift, they pull a T-1000 or Freddy, and they impersonate someone. But he will kind of like stick a knife, kind of like Candyman. He'll stick a knife right through someone as they're having a conversation. You'll be like, whoa. And so now this chief of police is dead, and you're blamed for their murder unless you come to hell with me. And I think
what you gonna do?
But no, that is true. Is like
it's like entrapment almost.
It is entrapment, and at the same time, it's kind of.
Which is what the Revelations was about. It was like a psychotic parent trap movie. It was because it was about cheating parents, and they basically get the kids are like, "You guys are cheating, now you guys are going to hell," and all this shit. That's what I thought was great. It was like the hell parent trap.
The parent trap to hell. But it is weird how there's all these allusions to anything from home invasions, and anything he does to you could be worse than any other movie psycho villain and he even going to Guantanamo Bay as a prisoner. You know, it's just there's all this fucked up stuff that, you know, you could literally be in just there for eternity getting tortured to death with no ends of escape. But I think that's just it. It's just more awesome, especially with even the one where Kerry Wuhar plays a reporter, or the one with Mayhem years before he was playing Mayhem in those progressive ads. It's just funny how they're all flawed people, and even Christie has to kind of betray someone just to stay out of hell. And Scott Derrickson loves that character so much. He did a movie called Christie that he produced, and I was like, yeah, that has to be a Hellraiser connection. But yeah, this is it. I think because Christie is so bright, tech savvy, and even any of the people, some of the people surprise you. Sometimes they want to fix their wrongs, or they still are going on an interesting mystery before you realize, kind of like in Cube, oh, well, that's right, this person is a piece of shit. Or
you love that film.
Sorry, I had to bring up something. I always thought that giant cube could be Pinhead's cube.
Yeah.
Interesting. So they're making another one of these now. They're well, it's
Another Hellraiser?
actually they just did the 2022 one. But if they do make another one, do you think there's an audience for it? I mean, obviously we would watch it, but do you guys think there is actually an audience out there for it?
A lot of fans, and even the toxic ones, have had time to clear house. And I think, like you say, I mean, it's definitely better than what they've been thinking about. Like at one point they wanted him to fight another horror character, like
him versus Freddy would be a lot of fun.
That'd actually be kind of cool.
It would be fun. It's just I figured they wouldn't make good use of it, but it is interesting seeing what they developed over the years.
Constantine versus Pinhead.
Yes.
There you go. Yeah.
Animated, like City of Demons.
There you go. If you got to make it animated, I'll watch it.
Film.
It definitely sounds better than the HBO anthology they were thinking of by the new Halloween guys.
Ooh, I got a better one. Hellraiser versus Constantine versus Dead Space.
Dead Space
animated.
Wow.
Oh Christ,
okay, going there.
Yes, I love animated. Animated horror is so much better, and it's it's crazy how good that shit is. Like fuck, there's not enough of it.
You know, I'm surprised they haven't made a cameo in the actual like video games, because that would of Dead Space, because that or what's the other one? Mass Effect. It seems like they would be privy to that, because I mean, even with Hellraiser 4, they did kind of go all aliens. You know,
Dante's Inferno is pretty awesome too, animated.
Yes, I love that movie.
And you know, I think that's just it, though. I mean, it is kind of like a more interactive book version of either version of Dante's Inferno, and then having at the end of it, you know, Pinhead, you know, escapes, or someone else escapes and locks him away. It just having that
make a Hellraiser interactive movie. That would be a lot of fun.
That could be, yeah, because like you say, you know, interactive movies, for those who don't know, are intriguing because they have multiple endings.
Yeah. Batman Death in the Family was really fucking good. They screwed up the digital release so badly. Like, how the fuck are you gonna make the interactive part disc exclusive, and then the digital part of it is just the first part of the story, and then all the other animated shorts? Like, dude, really? Idiots.
Totally. Heather, what do you think? Where do you think this franchise is going to go? Do you think they're going to do a follow-up to the 2022 rehash? Which I have to say, like every change segment, it got me. I was just like, I feel that whoever did the Foley and the effects actually felt like I was speared along with those characters.
Yeah, I was a huge fan of the one that just came out last year. So I think I think that Hellraiser was like kind of fading in a way, because each new installment was kind of it was kind of, you know, hanging on by a thread. But I think the new one really reinvigorated it, and I think David Bruckner did a great job. Honestly, I think that was my favorite movie of last year, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it's actually kind of interesting how that and Prey were showing, hey, Hulu's now a bed for any kind of creative talents.
Yeah, and then all the controversy around Jamie Clayton. That's so true because she did a great job.
Yeah, that surprised the shit out of me. Wow.
Like, I think it fit the movie really well. A lot of people were telling me they didn't like the Riley character, the main girl, but because she was like really whiny and shit. But I thought
that's kind of
really
enjoyed her. I didn't find her whiny, but yeah.
Why wasn't it a dude?
I mean,
right.
Why
didn't she fall down, break her leg, and scream all the time? Seriously.
Right. I mean, if I'm in pain, I'm not going to have anything. But yeah, it seems like a lot of people are just emotionally disconnected to where it's just like, guys,
I know.
This is how they're seen any of these movies before? I mean, I see people who they do this with some of these other shows. Oh, I don't like it when it was syndicated. I'm like, or serialized. I'm like, well, that's when it got good because it had a story to build on that was pretty established.
Yeah, like with Clone Wars, going to Star Wars real quick. People got mad about the third season because it was so political. I'm like, Star Wars is literally politics.
It's always been politics, even before Lucas did his prequels.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny how
the Empire is based off the Third Reich.
I know.
Everyone thought it. I saw people all the time. They thought it was so cool. I'm a stormtrooper, and I was like, it was the same thing for me.
Nazi
You're a Nazi. Exactly. It's the same thing with freaking Starship Troopers. I'm like, you do know what that's
authoritarian, yeah.
Elitist.
Are you doing your part? No.
Yeah, and I think that's just it. Like, I'm cool with someone being freaking Pinhead because I know that they're in on the joke. They're versus,
and they're good at stitching too.
And just seeing all these guys who, they can portray all these different, characters is like how anyone couldn't be in on the joke and know what's what about all these characters is just like, yeah, you got to be really asleep at the wheel if you think that Pinhead is. Pinhead's interesting in that he's very neutral at the same time, if that makes sense. He's not someone who thinks you have to die. He's just like, well, I see it on your tombstone. I see, he would be torturing
you did the box
and be like, okay, pedophile.
I do.
Yeah. It's insane. It's like you say, it seems like everything has to be black or white when really it's in a gray area, really more than half the time.
Wouldn't he be like definition of gray?
No, absolutely. That's why I like the story, is because it's literally told from like almost an immoral perspective. It's like you don't want your family member to die because they did some shit like that. But it's like in a way you would want them to die because they did some shit. It's like let's not lie about it here. So it's kind of like it's like making that choice. It's like you as the audience member have to make the choice whether you're like, yeah, I would do that, or you're like, oh, dude, that's going a bit far.
I could never do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, do I open this box? I mean, it's still in pristine condition. I don't want to ruin the value. But if I open it, I might get a prize.
Right. How badly do you want it? It's like the treasure of the Sierra Madre, where do you all want this damn treasure, or do you want to just let him have it so that he can get killed by all these other people who are going to kill him for it? And I'm actually glad that they never brought that in money. I think it would have polluted it too much because there are so many greedy whores out there who will do anything for money. I'm like, no,
right?
That would have been involved
zombie genre.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, I keep going back to Romero because I mean, Romero knew the right people got his movies and knew that they were more than just monster films or creepy psychological horror. It just seems like we got to tell all the Stans and Karens of the world. It's just not how this works.
Stans and Karens of the world.
Sit down, Kyle. Nobody wants to hear your shit.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here, Kyle.
Okay, well, on that flip side, this is a question here. So, I know, right? Let me ask you this, and I'm sure Cam's going to be like, did you just bring that up? So, would you guys say that this is a very politically incorrect film?
I'd say it's a very beautiful film. It should win so many awards. It's for kids.
It's X-rated, but it's not. It's not. I don't think politically incorrect. It's
NC-17.
Right.
I mean,
that's
not really
that's
a lot
what I
of
mean.
acts.
It's just I mean, there's a reason they don't come on TV. They're just impossible to edit. But
it's not because it's offensive to anyone. Just because have you seen that blood?
Yeah, no. I think it's kind of like Oz. I mean, some people are gonna watch a minute of it and be like, "That's repulsive. I can't watch anymore." And then there's others who are gonna actually sit through it and be intrigued by it. I mean, obviously, there's still going to be people who suffer through a movie or sequel and say, "I just don't get it. I don't understand the appeal. It was boring."
I am triggered.
Triggered. I can't have it.
I'm triggered. I need my safe space to be safe again.
But I feel like it's almost much like Oz in that it's opening a dialogue, and those who are willing to have it are going to understand it. Those who don't are going to
good character evolution in that shit.
Totally, it's a total character evolution, and like you guys said, it is about seeing all these people in the gray, or they've done something bad, but they're trying to redeem themselves and they fell, or they're beyond,
saving, or the biggest plot twist, it's actually the containment unit from the Ghostbusters house, and Winston's watching over all these ghosts. There you go.
Yeah, there would be a way to tie it in. Have him make a cameo in.
Well, no,
okay, that would be a film I would see if the Ghostbusters had to go up against Hellraiser. Holy shit, that would be gnarly.
I mean, they kind of came close with whatever the entity that possesses Sigourney Weaver's character.
Kind of, yeah, that's pretty close, yeah. But that'd be amazing, though.
Oh, it would. So there you go. I mean, there's your Player One Freddy Krueger equivalent cameo is having Pinhead in a Ghostbusters sequel. That'd probably be the only reason I would watch one.
But would it even hit rated R though? That's what really sucks. Because today it would.
Who owns Hellraiser actually? Who owns?
I think Lionsgate currently.
Lionsgate.
So
okay. I was gonna say, I swear to God, Disney owns this shit.
I mean, New World, got bought by Fox, so
that's what I'm saying. Because I was say Disney definitely ain't letting this out of the vault.
Well, Warlock would have technically been part of that. But
actually, what am I saying? Disney will jump on this in a second, dude. It's all about money. They're like, Hellraiser, we can make money off that. Fuck yeah, let's redo it.
They kind of, so I'm gonna, I'm with you. It might be partially owned by Fox through Hulu, which is part of Disney and Universal. So,
well, the reason I even bring that up is like how you guys were saying though, is because now they are going to make Fox, owns Alien, and now I'm a huge Alien fan, and they are going to continue the Alien franchise.
It's the best Disney princess ever.
Yes, totally agree.
We need a petition to have that like more of a thing.
It needs to be. You're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, Agent Scully and Ripley should be at Disney World.
Yes.
I don't want to hear any story about.
Absolutely, but they're going to continue the franchise, and I just worry. We're going to have a PG-13 Alien film, and I think the only reason they'll be doing that is because they'll base it more off of there's more alien blood, so it's okay. So there'll be no human blood.
Why do you think people keep thinking R-rated movies don't make any money when it's been proven false numerous times? Matrix, Deadpool.
Yeah, they do make money.
Jason. I don't understand that.
It's just a safer bet for theaters because family night, movie night, that's why. Because you cut the audience in half when you do rated R.
You do cut it in half.
You still make money, though, because adults are going to come see this. Yeah, exactly. It makes it intriguing. Like when the Joker film came out, and I hate to bring that up, but everyone was like, that movie's rated R because it's so bad. I was like, I want to go fucking see this.
It doesn't make any sense. Why would it be bad?
I was like, it shouldn't even be rated R. I was like, it kills like maybe 3 people. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think so. It was a tame version of The Purge.
Yeah, it was very tame.
And even the Purge
it was a very tame version of The Purge. That's a good one, yeah.
It felt like that at the end with people jumping out into the middle of the street and Gerardo Rivera.
Hey, that's a very, very, very good point, Cam. I like that one. Yeah. It's just like the forever Purge for me. Like once you make the Purge forever and it's not in that time span, then it just becomes Blade Runner and Mad Max at that point. It's like it's not even the Purge no more. It's like when you take Jurassic Park off the island, it's just like every other B-rated horror movie with dinosaurs in it.
It's a Sci-Fi Channel movie with a budget. Yeah. And I am glad that Hellraiser never went that route. I'm glad it never became.
That is something you can say, yeah.
It never did. But yeah, no, I'm with you. That would be cool if they did a comic book arc which involved, Dark Horse and Fox presents Alien. In hell.
Oh God!
He unleashes the Hell Collective upon the Predators or something like that. I don't know.
Be wild.
John Connor in Terminator goes to hell and has to fight Pinhead.
Jesus.
Actually, the Terminator versus Alien, I always thought would actually be interesting.
Oh, you trashing my scene?
There is a comic crossover.
I was gonna say there is one. I've never read that one though, but I do know there is one though.
There is one with Alien. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Aliens and Terminator. Yeah,
because I've read the Alien versus Batman, Predator versus Batman. You know, I like those. Superman versus Alien.
Oreo and I listened to the Who Would Win podcast, which is so funny because James and Ray will just bicker and they have to state which character they're using in the versus match, but they'll always cheat a little. Wait a second, you're using that new iteration of Dynamite Comics from Marvel and DC, you sneaky bastard. And they can't say bastard, so they gotta say, I'm gonna beat your butt. You know, they gotta keep it PG rated. But yeah, they will do various characters who have had their own movie and comic book crossovers.
So that's why you don't invite me on there.
They should totally have you as a guest judge, but it is funny because they will every once in a while they'll bring up crossovers and they're like, come on, you and I know as much as the next guy that crossover made no sense. It makes zero sense why Batman would let Judge Dredd punch him in the face. But
the one crossover that hurt my feelings was JLA Witchblade. I was so excited to read that shit, and I saw the cover. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I read the
Justice League was with Witchblade.
Yeah. And it literally, the cover literally spoils the whole fucking story. I'm like, seriously? Fucking asshole.
I do applaud him for making good use of the Hellraiser comics because, like you say, they were approved by Barker. He gave them some free reign, and a more recent version of the Hellbound Heart actually had Mike Mignola of Hellboy fame pitch in and supervise the artwork, and they were basically bringing out tales inspired by Barker. Everyone was happy.
Ooh, Del Toro doing a Hellraiser film.
I'd watch it.
That'd be interesting. I don't know if it would work though.
CGI and have stupid.
I think it'd be too emotional.
I was just gonna say it would have too much meaning. There would be so much meaning. Yeah, it'd be like Pan's Labyrinth almost. It'd be very, very meaningful. Like it wouldn't even be Hellraiser at this point. It'd be like something totally different.
Hell, you know, this is a hot take, but I'm gonna say put Scott Derrickson back in the ring. I love Inferno. I love what he did with the Sinister and Deliver Us from Evil. Let's bring back.
I want Critters to be brought back.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
I love Critters too. That shit's funny.
Oh,
Critters
there you go. Do you want the collector from Demon Knight to come into this film?
Oh God,
Billy Zane's in all sorts of crazy horror movies, including.
What were you saying though, Heather? You were saying something though.
Sorry.
Oh no, I was just agreeing.
Del Toro might get a little too emotional.
Too emotional.
I think it would be way too significant with like I don't know some kind of internal depth and meaning.
Some political strife.
It wouldn't even be like gory anymore because it would be too focused on like how everyone's feeling.
It'd be very gothic.
How is Pinhead as a person?
Yeah, like what's his backstory? Like who was he before all the?
We already got that.
Why is he this way? And there's a reason.
There wouldn't be.
His family was a Guatemalan refugee.
There you go. Or like they do with half these comic book movies, they would make him have just the most petty excuse. Oh, he took my Crayola crowns, or he ate my last brownie.
Yeah, that's serious.
I'm gonna take over the world. I'm like,
he drank my purple stuff.
It's not even cinematic worthy. That's just a bad comic book. And this is what annoys me with half these comic book movies, in that not only are they oversaturating the market, but good or bad, there's just some stuff that should stay in a comic. It should not be adapted as the supervillain mythos, because that is, like, you guys, we've been going back and forth. Pinhead's just picking on the most unusual people, and I always took it as kind of a Twilight Zone equivalent. He's the equivalent of, again, just someone who just wants to be judge, jury, and executioner. That's all he wants to do, you know?
Yep. While staying gray, which is amazing.
Yeah. Somehow he doesn't get an inch of gore on his face. That's insane.
Yeah, Yeah, he doesn't even have to track in or like chase anybody down. There's like no malice in him, whatever. He's just doing his job.
His hooks can't be tricked into, backfiring on himself.
Like if he wants to find you, he's gonna find you.
Yeah, he's going fishing.
Speaking of moments when Frank gets killed in that first movie, dude, that is one of the most brutal things. When I first was, because I seen Hellraiser really early. I mean, it's 1987. I seen it when I was really young, and I remember that, especially Chatterbox too. That character freaked the fuck out of me. But when he gets all chained up like that and it's all stretched out on him, oh god, that really freaked me. That stayed in my mind for a long time as a child.
Well, and like you guys say, it's bringing up the great ethos. We're feeling bad for this otherwise shitbag of a character, and he's interesting because then it makes you a bigger predicament. Who's the real villain? Is it Pinhead or is it Frank?
Yeah.
I don't know. I say it could be that his sister, because she's killing everyone. that part is another part of the movie that I'm like, that is some psycho shit. She's sacrificing all these people for him.
Sorry for those rats. The real critters can't let him win.
Why didn't you get rid of the mattress? You have to get rid of the mattress.
Oh my god!
It just needs flipped. Damn it.
The burning bed just took a twist. Yeah,
they should have just flipped that mattress. Problem solved.
That was the whole plot point that Clive was trying to get across. Flip the mattress. I'm like, are you fucking
I love this
serious?
guy. I love this guy. Because you imagine that the whole time he's just like, you gotta lay on that mat. He's like, all right, just flips it over, then lays on it.
And then the movie ends.
And then one giant spike goes right through the eyes. And I could tell it was still a big deal in pop culture when I saw the poster for Aqua Teen Hunger Force, the movie. Because the first opening blurb is from the people who brought you Aqua Teen Hunger Force and Hellraiser Free, the gates of hell. And I was just like, that is the most amazing, marketing tagline I have seen ever. It's just because they knew it was absurd, just the way they were stating it. I'm like, that's fucking awesome. I must see what you have. Oh god.
Well, yeah, I really liked when he first regenerates or like is resurrected. It's just so wet and gooey.
God, gnarly.
I love it. I swear, like that's like a thing that they keep going with, like for like the first few movies. Everything's just so ooey and gooey.
1000%. I even love the massacre in Part 3 where just everyone is just swept away. You don't see them anymore, and then you see like reflections of them. They get very artistic, and then I love how someone just like enters the club.
Yeah, that was cool.
He's just like, I guess I'll pour my own drink. Everybody's fucking dead air, and I see so many people just bitching around saying it doesn't make any sense. I'm like, yes, it does.
It doesn't have to.
This is Club Sin. I mean, that's in the title. I mean, and I do like how you guys say too. You do see allusions to this in just underwork, just from art direction to what have you. And I do applaud Rob and Oreo for bringing up Alien, because I do think there's a lot of similar designs they use. Even that opening of Blade, where you see all those chains around and he just starts massacring all the vampires. I always got a Hellraiser Wishmaster vibe from that. And because like you guys say, everyone knew about it even if they hadn't seen it. And that's the kind of rarity. If you don't have movie channels or video store access at that time, it was kind of a word of mouth. And it seems like we've even seen gruesome anime that seems to be very Evil Dead or Hellraiser inspired.
Hellraiser, yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. You got Dead Space, you got Berserk, Diver. Oh,
Chainsaw Man.
I haven't watched that yet.
I haven't either. I hear it's fun for what that is. This has been a delight discussing this with you all, though, because
we're done already. Fuck.
We just kind of
we just got started.
So now one of these Halloweens,
I'm getting our stride here.
I might have to buy a Pinhead costume. I might just have to.
Nice. We could do it like an old fashioned, Cam. I mean, you could just lay there and I could. We go an inch in. I mean,
the Q-tips and the other. Yeah, I've seen people do it that way. It's just like This one at least was a giant wardrobe that cost like $200, and I was like, you know what? Hit me. I might buy that, and then I'll just work on the makeup myself.
Speaking of wardrobe,
wardrobe, is that what it's called?
No, this is funny because that just reminded me about Kevin Nash dressing as Oz back then. He had to carry that whole thing around with him everywhere, and it weighed 200 pounds.
Did he really? Wow.
Yes, he really did. It was on his
Kevin
podcast.
Nash needs to be in a Hellraiser movie and bring in some wrestler crowd. I like it. Has anyone ever done that where they dress up as Pinhead at like a video game convention or a wrestling? Because that would be amazing if someone came with all the spears, all the chains, and he just wrapped someone around and hung him up.
Just dragging all those chains in there, and they'll just
and people boo him, and then he just shoots out darts. There will be no doing. Silence. Oh God, this has been a delight. Where can we find you all on social media? Heather, if you want to go first.
I am on Instagram. And you can find me on Instagram, Villainess Narrative.
Whoop, whoop. Thank you for joining the club. Rob, what is the Real Sharks up to next? King of Saga.
Oh, what are we up to next? Well, we're actually talking about Baby on Let's Talk About, the 1970, I think it's 4 movie. I don't know if you ever seen that. It's one of the most insane films about a guy who's literally being trapped. He's like an adult male, but it's trapped by 3 women that are making him like an infant. It's one of the most insane.
What's it called?
It's called Baby. Look it up, 1974, 73. I was actually going to try and get you on that one, Cam, but we already did it, though. It's an insane film. So that's what we got next going on.
Look this up.
Oh, dude, it's hilarious. It's kind of reminded me of Silent Night a lot, but from the psychological messed up perspective kind of thing, because the guy had PTSD. It's like this is the same thing, but in the 70s where they didn't care about those kind of jokes.
And they're all wearing bell bottoms and doing it.
Yeah. Wow.
Staying alive, change your diaper.
But you can find the Real Sharks podcast anywhere. Pretty much, you can just Google Real Sharks podcast.
What does YouTuber Oreo have coming up?
A bunch of movie reviews, and you can find me on OnlyFans where my name is Split That Cookie.
If you say so. Is there a Pinhead OnlyFans? No.
I better not get that confused. It's another OnlyFans account.
Pinhead on OnlyFans, but he's sewing.
Today's the day.
Demons to some, angels to others, knitters to old ladies.
You knock that off, Pinhead. Give me a needle.
Oh yes. God. Yes.
That's going to be like Pinhead 20 right there, where he's really old, just like that. Exactly. That's going to be the premise of it.
Pinhead in a nursing home.
Exactly. With the knitting and everything.
Oh my God.
You stop that, Pinhead.
My colostomy bag.
Oh, Tom Petty. He doesn't come around here no more. I know. That's a boo.
All right. Nice.
Glad having you on here, guys. Let's do another fun sit down.
Thanks for having us, Cam. Thanks for having me.
Yippee skippy.
Skippity doo skippity doo.
Have a good night, Cam.
Hasta luego, guys. Love talking to you.
I love you.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked